Well, certainly a good deal of this can be put at the issue of the closure of the straits. So yes, a food crisis is not impossible. It would be those economies in Africa which are the most urbanized, so South Africa being one of them. Well, certainly a good deal of this can be put at the issue of the closure of the straits, because this is affecting energy prices, which is a major way of transmitting to food prices in Africa, as well as the cost of fertilizers, which will also cascade into affecting production levels in Africa. The longer the conflict lasts, there's the risk of disrupting planting seasons. So many African countries are experiencing one of their rainy seasons at the moment and would be preparing to start planting crops which are dependent upon fertilizer. So strong effect. It would be those economies in Africa which are the most urbanized, so South Africa being one of them, but other countries in Africa have also had very rapid urbanization at the moment. So they will be affected by the cost of transporting food across the continent. The continent is heavily reliant upon the use of trucks to be able to move food from one part to the other, rather than since there aren't well-developed train systems. So that will be one of it. The continent is also very heavily dependent upon oil for a whole range of production issues, including irrigation, as well as the production of mechanization, as well as refrigeration. So it's going to be those highly urbanized areas, as well as those parts of the African food system which are dependent upon staples such as maize. Wheat is less of an issue, but maize certainly will be an issue. But we have to also recognize that Africa is a highly diverse continent, and some areas are using foods such as plantain or teff as staples, which are not necessarily going to be as affected by the closure. In South Africa, we are starting to be concerned about that. We are heavily reliant upon imports of wheat for some of our production, particularly when we experience negative climatic effects. I think the same is true of other parts of Africa where food is imported when there are issues around climate. And so the development of a possible El Nino effect is certainly going to be something which we need to be concerned about. So yes, a food crisis is not impossible. Some, but mostly no. Even in the case of South Africa, our national treasury attempted against the increasing prices, but we had a dramatic increase in oil, in diesel and petrol prices just this week, as that was not a sustainable approach. So where countries are taxing oil and petrol and diesel, even there, they're not able to use that small fiscal space to be able to buffer consumers. In other instances and other places in Africa, the tax base is really small still. Some countries, there is a significant tax base, but in general, most countries will not be able to do much from the perspective of government intervention. Certainly, a number of African governments are already expressing concerns around that. Food riots are not uncommon in Africa, and particularly in urban communities where there is a politicized population. We saw the impact of food prices increase, in fact, in North Africa about a decade ago. So it is a concern. And again, during the COVID period, we did see food riots in some places in Africa, including in South Africa, where people were protested about the regulations that were introduced, as well as the closure of shops. So there is that risk, yes.